And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I'm talking with James Grant. James, hey, thanks for squeezing me into your calendar, James.
No, thanks for having me, Michael. I'm really pumped. We're going to have some fun time today.
I'm looking forward to it. So James is the founder and one of the principal attorneys at Georgia Trial Lawyers, and they help. I love this. I love this. It's James and his firm. They represent people who have been wronged and unfairly taken advantage by those greedy insurance companies, helping them level the playing field. And I love that, James, because a lot of people, they just really don't understand personal injury attorneys, what you guys do, and how you really help people who've been involved in some kind of an accident. So I can't wait to dive into this a little bit more. Before we get there, let me ask you, how in the world did you get to doing what you do today?
Cool, Michael. I mean, I don't know if we have enough time for that because my story takes so many different twists and turns.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just have to follow the path that you're on and just go with whatever happens, go with whatever changes and whatever comes your way. Because if you just stick to a plan, plans are made to be broken. And you have to be able to adjust, you have to be able to adapt. You know, I was in my last year at Georgia Tech waiting to be a civil engineer with job offers lined up. And just on a whim, pretty much, I was like, hey, let's go to law school. This is going to be fun. Everyone told me I was crazy. I mean, probably rightfully so, because that just doesn't make sense. You don't do that. Like, you don't leave the security of, a job and stability to go try something, incur hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt just because, oh, this may work and should be fun. But, that's really how it started. And through several twists and turns of, being a prosecutor to working in a firm that did a little bit of everything to meeting my business partner and he and I saying that, we can do this ourselves. We can help a lot of people. We can help a lot of lawyers. Let's just go all in. And that's kind of how we've gotten to here today.
That's awesome. I love that, the resiliency. And, so I've been doing my business for 11 years now. And I tell people I have reiterated my business about a dozen times, right? Because
I think that's normal. And that's really, you have to adapt and you have to change. One of the big revolutionizers was COVID. So many businesses had to be able to adjust, be able to adapt. My firm at this point is pretty much entirely virtual. I'm here working in the office today because I like to come in, once every other week, but most of the time I'm working from home. Our office is effectively national and global with people working all over the world, but we have a centralized office. So many businesses didn't do that, which means more market share for me and the others that were able to adapt and overcome and revolutionize, their business and their business model. And like you, we've done that several times as well.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the joys of being an entrepreneur and being nimble, to be able to take things like that and go, oh, this is awesome. It's funny, you were talking, I said, you were talking your office. I'm like, your office is in the cloud. I mean, it's everywhere and it's at your fingertips with your phone on the website and things. But all right, let's dive in, James. And you guys are at a high level. I'm going to put you in this category of personal injury attorneys. You're the guys that you call when you're in a car accident, slip and fall, something happens. Let's unpack that for our listeners of why is that even important that I get representation if I'm in some kind of an accident? And number one, why is that important? Number two, how soon do I need to call you? Those are some of my initial thoughts.
It's a sad thing, the world that we live in. It really is, because I wish that I wasn't a necessary evil. I wish that I was able to use my skills and go do other things, because I wish the insurance company did the right thing. I wish the insurance companies treated people fairly, and I wish they didn't put profits over that of their insureds injuring somebody else. I mean, that's a tough balance, and I get it. It's business, but you have a tough balancing act, because on one hand, in I think all but 2 states in the U.S., insurance is required. So on one hand, the legislator is saying, if you're going to drive on our roads, you have to have insurance on your vehicle. But then on the other side, they're saying, well, insurance company, you can make money. That's okay. Profits are fine. Well, so now they have the best of both worlds, because it's required by law. And now they're allowed to make money off that. Not many other businesses fall in that category. So they've effectively got a stranglehold on the market, and they choose their shareholders, they choose their profits over you and me all day,
Yeah.
every day, because it's just a business decision.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I don't blame them because it's a smart business move, but when you're in the driver's seat and you just got rear-ended and you know that Allstate or one of these other really tough insurance companies is on the other side, you don't really have a choice because they're going to call you up and say, hey, here's $500. We hope you're better, but if it turns out to be something really bad and you took this $500, well, guess what? You're all done. You're up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those deals where you need us. I wish you didn't have to have us, but it's kind of one of those deals. As long as there's insurance companies and profits that are there, you're going to need a personal injury attorney. And speed is always, better than waiting to the last minute or, hoping that, they're going to do the right thing and treat you well. It's always better just to let the expert handle it. You let an expert file your taxes, you hire a painter to come in and paint your house. Hire an expert when it comes to a personal injury case.
Yeah. Now, and I love that. And I want to dive, I'm going to pause a little bit and I want to dive into that because, when you're you get rear-ended or T-boned. My son's been T-boned twice. Praise God, he's never been hurt. His cars are ton. But what happens is you're now fighting against this big behemoth called the insurance company. And as great as their commercials are on TV, that they're wonderful, friendly people, to get your business, try getting a dime out of them. And they've got professional attorneys and people who are fighting to keep their money for the profit. And it's that transaction of here's our settlement. And yeah, when you sign it, oh, by the way, you're giving up all of your rights, even to your firstborn child, I think. Talk about that, because I think too many times, people look at personal injury attorneys as, oh, you guys are mean. All you want is money. And the reality that I have found working with your peers for the last decade, you're really good people. You have a lot of integrity, and you're there to fight, to level the playing field, to give your client a fighting chance against that big behemoth, that Goliath, to say, no, I'm going to help you. Speak to that.
So you took the words right out of my mouth. I call it a David versus Goliath scenario every day.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what firm you hire. You could hire all the firms that are out there, and it's still David versus Goliath, because you have multi-billion-dollar corporations that are against the little guy. And that math just doesn't work day to day, which is why you need a team, why you need somebody that's really on your side, as opposed to what the commercials say. And those commercials, those are geared towards sales.
Yes.
They want to make a sale. They're really good at it. They hire great marketing experts to create great commercials to drive traffic for sales, for purchasing insurance. But on the other side, on the claim side of things, that's a whole separate division where they want to pay out as little money as possible to protect themselves so they can make more money on their investments.
Absolutely.
Because all they're doing is they're taking the proceeds from, when they collect premiums, they take the premiums, they've obviously got some overhead, but they're taking a ton of money in, paying the little bit of overhead that they have, and investing the rest of that money. Insurance companies make money through investment. And the longer they can keep that money tied up in those investments, the better they're going to do. So it's, one of these deals, again, where you have to pry the money out of their hands, because they're not going to willingly give it. They want to keep it. And when you've got this David and Goliath scenario, you need somebody who knows what's going on, who understands the game, because that's exactly what it is. It's a game. You have to play it. You have to know the rules. And if you don't, they're just going to railroad you all day, every day.
Yeah. It's very interesting, because I don't know that a lot of people understand this, is when you get T-boned or whatever, the insurance company, who do you talk to? You typically talk to like an adjuster or somebody. Whatever. They forget that the insurance company has a team of attorneys back there, right? Who have built everything and who are going to come after you for one purpose, which is to save the insurance company money. That's their job.
Well, I mean, it's like, like a criminal case. They say anything you say can and will be used against you. Guess what? When you pick up that phone and start talking to the insurance company, everything you say is being recorded, and everything you say will be used against you. So if you cut that out and let your attorney speak for you, guess what? You've saved yourself probably thousands of dollars in that phone call alone, because they know what to say. we know how to handle the claims. We know what questions to answer and what questions we don't have to answer. Whereas, you just think that the insurance company is going to do the right thing. So, hey, I'm going to give them all this information. I'm going to tell them about all my previous medical history. I'm going to tell them about, what was going on before, what was going on after. None of that stuff matters. Let your attorney handle it. Let us cut that out. Let us get down to brass tacks and move your case through the process so that we can, again, get you better, which is goal number one, then get you the biggest recovery that we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned dollars, which is important. That's usually the number one thing on people's minds, but really it's the time and the stress that can play into it. If an individual is trying to deal with an insurance company or fax information to this or go, and there's so much more, it compounds on that person who's been involved in an accident because they got so much going on. They might be out of work. They might be in the hospital. They might have doctor's appointments. Now they got to deal with an insurance company. Being able to put that on the shoulders of a guy like you to go, can you help me, James? And oh, by the way, can I even afford you? Talk a little bit about that, because I still think even today, people don't understand how you get compensated and why that's such a good deal. Talk about a little bit that at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to explain it when it comes to hiring a personal injury attorney is I work for you for free and I pay for it. And the only time I get paid is when I get a settlement for you. So it's kind of one of these mutually beneficial relationships where if we, let's say worst case scenario happens and we go to trial and we lose and the jury gives you $0, well, guess what? You don't owe me a dime. All the costs that I've spent to, figure out your case, litigate it, do all the things that I need to, you don't have to pay any of that back because that was part of the deal. You're hiring me in exchange for a portion or a commission on your settlement or the verdict, whatever it is. However, if we win for you, which we do, very, very rarely does a true loss come along the way. But sometimes juries do crazy things. And again, that's why insurance companies are so litigious, is they know that if they can convince 12 random strangers that either you weren't hurt or you had some pre-existing issues or that there's some doubt, whatever it may be. Sometimes juries get concerned about what color the car was and they make their decision on that. You don't necessarily know what 12 people are going to do. So can it happen? Absolutely. It's very possible. So there's a lot of risk analysis that's involved as well as we go through the case. But I'm tied to you, you're tied to me. So my job is to maximize your recovery, which also maximizes my recovery.
Yeah, I think that's I've always loved that model, right? And even in our business, in sales and things, we talk to companies that will do our selling for us on a commission basis. They say, you don't owe me a dime until I sell a product, and then I'll take a commission on it. And we're like, I like that model. I'm happy to compensate you because you're doing the work. You deserve the compensation. And people just don't understand all that goes into building a case and preparing it for trial, number one. If it ever goes there, great. But even being able to take a trial attorney and hire that to say, I can take it all the way through the trial. Because I know a lot of attorneys don't want to go to trial. You prepare a case for trial, whether it goes there or not, because it's how you prepare. And that's the work that you're doing to earn your money, right?
Well, and I mean, kind of like you talked about a little bit earlier about, reinventing your business and changing your model, within the past year and a half, we've exactly done that. We've changed our business model. We used to be a B2C business or a business to consumer business, and we would help clients that were injured in accidents from the accident scene and be able to take their case. But there's also another version of a B2B side of business where other law firms, not every law firm litigates their own cases. A lot of law firms are really good at signing up cases, doing the marketing, doing the sales, getting clients in treatment, and handling that process through what we call pre-litigation. Mm-hmm. And if you're really good at that, that's where your niche is. That's where you need to focus as a business. And not every firm is necessarily good at the next step, which is litigation. And through looking at a business and saying, how can I funnel down? How can I niche down? How can I provide a service that doesn't have a lot of market share? My business partner and I realized that, well, if there's not a lot of law firms that want to litigate their own cases, there's not a lot of firms that are really doing it. Why don't we take up that market share? And really within the last year and a half, we've gone all in exclusively on a B2B business model, where now we're in the business of helping other personal injury lawyers make more money faster, and with less stress by serving as their outsourced litigation department so that we can help them and their clients when the case necessarily doesn't settle, when they don't get a good offer, and we can be able to take it to the finish line and help other law firms build together as opposed to competing against one another.
That's brilliant. Way to go. That is something that a lot my audience needs to listen to that and hear that, because what James has done is he looked at the market, found a gap, and filled that gap with his expertise, he and his partners. So now what you're doing, if I understood that properly, is you're in a sense partnering with other law firms around the country who are really good at lead generation and gaining clients and marketing, but they need a case to go to litigation, to court, and they're not experts at that necessarily. So they partner with you. You come in, and again, at the end of the day, y'all get paid only if you win the case. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly the model. And it really works. And a lot of people are like, oh, no, that's, why wouldn't I want to hire the trial attorney from the beginning? And I mean, full disclosure, you have to run two separate law firms if you want to do that. You have to run a pre-litigation law firm, and then you also have to run a litigation law firm, because it's kind of like football and baseball. You're running a baseball team over here, and then you're running a football team over here. You can't cross-pollinate with players. You can't bring the quarterback and have them be your star pitcher, and you can't have the catcher come over here and be your running back. So you have to be able to use different skill sets, different teams, different people, and some are really good over here at baseball. We found that we're really good at football. So from that standpoint of, hire the person that's good for what you need at the time.
Yeah.
Most law firms are going to be good at pre-litigation and be able to help you there. And you may not need a litigation law firm. And it may take too long for your case where, money now is better than potentially more money later. So it's always better to start out with a firm that's really good at pre-litigation, but just make sure that they have a system, have a plan for what's going to happen if your case gets to litigation, so that you do bring in that expert, being us. And then we can, again, get your case to the finish line and then work together from a partnership standpoint, not a competition standpoint.
That's awesome, man. That is so cool, because and that's really important, because if you find yourself right now in the midst of, you already hired a personal injury attorney or so, it's not as if you have to change gears and go, well, I need to fire them and go hire James. No. They can work together, because you are and you said this earlier, James, and I loved it, is you are working with that client, the person who's been injured in whatever facet. They are the primary person in this entire relationship. The objective is to get them healthy, get them back on their feet, and get them a settlement that they deserve, and that will get their family back on track. That's what you and your peers and the companies you work for, that's your heart, right? That's what you're trying to make happen. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to make people whole. Are you going to always get it right every single time? I mean, no. Some situations come across where no amount of money is able to make things right. The tough thing about our system is no one's got a magic wand. I can't put you back in the place that you were 10 seconds before that wreck happened or whatever bad thing happened. But we can try to get you better as best we can with the doctors that are available. We can try to get you a settlement that'll compensate you for your injuries, compensate you for your time, protect you for the future and what's going forward. But that doesn't always work. Money can't fix everything, but in the legal system that we have, that's the only thing that we can use to try to, in the eyes of the law, make you whole and put you back as you were. So, it's a tough analysis in some cases, but it's the only one that we have. So we have to work within the framework that we're given.
Yeah, absolutely. This is awesome. I was just thinking, as you were saying all that, if you've been in an accident of some nature, whether it's a car wreck or a slip and fall, it doesn't matter. If you find yourself there, you've got to understand the insurance company has attorneys. You need one too. Don't try to do this yourself, because it's not, even if it's just, now if it's a small fender bender and it's $1,000, yes, do it yourself. But if you've had an accident, you're injured in some nature, even if you don't, I mean, there are some people who get injured in 6 months later, they find out that they've had an injury, right? Talk a little bit about that as we start to wrap this thing up. How do you know if I need to reach out to a personal injury attorney, or if it was just a fender bender and how do you make that decision? Because we don't want to bug you guys.
Clients come to us all the time with for lack of it, I mean, it's a wrong assumption because you don't know what you don't know. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. And I've had many cases, I've had rollover collisions where the cars flip 13 times and the person walks away and they're fine. They may go to an urgent care, they may go to an ER, but they don't have any follow-up treatment. I've had cases where it looks like somebody took a crotch and slapped the back of the bumper and the person needs a surgery. So just from the looks of things, you don't know the dynamics of how that force traveled through the vehicle and traveled into your body. You don't know necessarily which angle you were sitting or were looking or were turning, and how that plays a factor into your pre-existing issues, things that you either know or don't know about. So my advice to everyone is, whether you think you're injured, whether you think you're fine, if it's completely clear that you were not at fault, go get checked out, get an attorney, and at least get a few examinations from a few different doctors to make sure. I would much rather you have, 1, 2, 3, or 4 visits from a couple different doctors and them say, guess what? You're fine. There's no issues. Everything's great. As opposed to the example that you said, you say, oh, I'm fine. This wasn't a big deal. Then 6 months goes by. Oh, I've got some really bad neck pain. Maybe it was from that accident. Well, guess what? Now it's a maybe, because no doctor on this planet is going to be able to say that that car accident from 6 months ago, when any number of things could have happened over that time period, is now the cause of this. It's too many problems, too much time. It's too big of a gap. So that's why speed is everything. After an accident, hire a lawyer right away, get to a doctor right away, and then let's handle it from there. Maybe it's a small case, maybe it's not, but at least we got to get you checked out first.
Love it. That is brilliant advice. Thank you, James. This has been really fascinating to me. And I've worked with attorneys for a decade, so I know there are some attorneys listening to this. So they may be in the position to say, I want to reach out to this guy because I don't do litigation. Or we may have some questions from our audience or something. How do people just find out more about you and your firm and what you do?
So the best way to get a hold of us is through our website, which is also our toll-free number. It's 833-4-THE-WIN. So that's 833, 4thewin.com. Check out that website for our free resources. Whether you're an attorney, whether you're trying to handle the claim yourself, we're going to be able to work together to give you the resources that you need to protect yourself and your claim.
James, thank you. Thank you for being my guest. Thank you for sharing so much great information, and thank you for doing what you do to protect people, to level the playing field, and to help get them healthy, whole, and get them the settlement that they need. And now partnering with other attorneys and law firms to really serve individuals. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
No, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome, brother.